Hello boys and girls, welcome to Mrs. Bandu's Math Movies. This is Course 3, Lesson 7-2, Angles and Parallel Lines. Our objective is to identify parallel lines and the angles formed by parallel lines. Okay, so we do have some vocabulary and concepts we want to go over and review before we get started. Okay, when a transversal intersects two parallel lines, okay, so let's look over here at first. Explain this picture a moment. The transversal is T. It's telling us that line L is parallel to, that's the symbol for parallel, line M. The transversal is the line that cuts through both of them. When a transversal intersects two parallel lines, corresponding angles are congruent. And alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, now we're going to define a couple of these in a little more detail, but that's what this picture is showing us. Real quickly here, our corresponding angles would be this one here and that one, the one under it, and it's corresponding down here, this one and this one, and that one. Alternate interior, they would lie within. This angle here is an alternate interior angle to this one. This one is alternate interior to that one. Again, remember, congruent angles are going to be marked with little marks. Anyone that has one hash mark in it or little arc in it is congruent to any other one like that. If it has two, they're congruent. Okay. Alright, so again, a couple of definitions in more detail. A transversal is a line that intersects two other lines at different points. In other words, they don't all three of them come together in one point. That's why it says it that way. Okay. All right, corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal and in corresponding positions. Okay, so here we have another one. We see these two lines are parallel. We're just assuming they are. They haven't told us that, but we're going to assume for our purposes that they are. And this is my transversal. Okay, so if I were looking for corresponding angles, I would look at angle 1, and that's in the upper right hand of this little cluster, kind of in the center of it. That would correspond to angle 6. Angle 2 would correspond to angle 7. Angle 3 corresponds to angle 5. And angle 4 corresponds to angle 8. Okay, so basically they're in the same position on the same side of the transversal and in the same position within their little cluster. So 1 and 6, 2 and 7, 3 and 5, 4 and 8. Alternate interior angles lie within a pair of lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, so what we mean here is within a pair of lines, that within is between them, like in this area here, okay? So a pair of alternate interior angles would be 3 and its alternate interior partner of 6, so angle 3 and angle 6. Angle 4 is an alternate interior with angle 2. Okay, so they're between the lines on opposite sides of the transversal, and basically if you connect them, they kind of make a big X like that as well. Just visualizing a couple of little hints here for you, but that's how to pick them out. Okay. Alright, so let's look at a couple of examples. So we're going to use this diagram for example 1 and example 2. Identify each pair of corresponding angles and each pair of alternate interior angles. Okay, again, we're going to assume, they really should tell us, but we're going to assume that P is parallel to Q and T is a transversal. Okay, so our first ones, let's do pairs of corresponding angles. I'm going in a little bit different order than it's given, but okay, so angle 1, which is right here, corresponds to angle 3. Angle 2 corresponds to angle 4. Angle 5 corresponds to angle 7. And angle 6 corresponds to angle 8. So those are pairs of corresponding angles. Let me caution you, do not memorize these by number partners. Memorize them by the appropriate definition and position, okay? Because you'll get into trouble because there's no set way that these have to be numbered. Okay, alternate interior angles. Would be angle 2. So we're looking within, between the lines here. Angle 2, its alternate interior would be angle 7. Angle 3, alternate interior with angle 6. And they are going to be congruent also. Okay. All right. Let's look at number 2. All right. It's not... I don't like that they haven't exactly given us this information. You have to flip the page back and forth, but okay, if P is parallel to Q and the measure of angle 3 is 56 degrees, find the measure of angle 6 and the measure of angle 1. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't even see that. Okay, so I'm going to flip back and mark the measurement of angle 3 to be 56 degrees. Okay, so the measure of angle 6 is equal to the measure of angle 3 because they are alternate interior angles. So the measure of angle 3 is equal to the measure of angle 6, which is 56 degrees. Again, this is because alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, let's look at 1 and 3. Okay, so I'm looking at angle 1. Where am I? Okay, here we are. Angle 1 and angle 3. Angle 1 and angle 3 are corresponding angles, and they are going to be congruent as well. So the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 3, and each of those is equal to 56 degrees as well. These are corresponding angles. Okay. All right. I know that's maybe a little difficult to keep up. You could always resketch the picture on, on another sheet of paper, trace it. That might be helpful for you as well. That wasn't the best arrangement there. Okay, let's look at number 3, identifying parallel lines. In the diagram below, the measure of angle 5 is 80 degrees, and the measure of angle 6 is 80 degrees. The measure of angle 7 is 80 degrees. Explain why P and Q are parallel and why S and T are parallel. Okay, P is parallel to Q because angle 5 and 7, okay, so I'm looking between these two lines, are congruent alternate interior angles, okay, because forget about this one over here, let's just pay attention right here, 5 and 7, P and Q, this lies between the two lines, 5 is up here, alternate sides, and on the bottom, 7. These are alternate interior angles. Okay? Now when I look up, S is parallel to T because angle 6, so again I'm just going to cover S and T, this part up here, and just focus on the 7 and the 6, angle 6 and angle 7. Because angle 6 and angle 7 are corresponding angles, corresponding angles, when two lines are parallel and cut by a transversal, their corresponding angles are congruent. So again, we're just applying that definition of corresponding angles and alternate interior angles and how they are related to parallel lines. Alright, you have a few quick checks here, so if you will get these done, I look forward to seeing you in class soon.